What is up, everybody? Welcome back to PFF Draft Podcast. This is going to be number 2.0. As much as I hate the naming convention,
at a 2.1, we'll have a 2.1.
Yeah, well, at some point we'll make use of it.
Week.
So, right back into it, right doing the draft. I'm Mike Renner. Joining me is Steve Palazzolo, as always, and I'm going to get right into my hot take because I was burning about something earlier this week, and it always makes me mad. Every draft season, I see people conflating upside with athleticism, and I don't ever want to hear the term upside ever again, because year after year after year, people just get upside. What upside is wrong? Like no one knows what upside actually means in the NFL. No one knows what guys' ceilings are. No one thought J.J. Watt's upside was a generational player. I don't think anyone coming out said, "Hey, his upside is the best player of this generation as a defensive lineman." But here we are with J.J. Watt, the best defensive player. And no one thought Aaron Donald at 6 feet tall, his upside was the best defensive tackle in the league right now. But here we are with Aaron Donald, the best defensive tackle in the league. When people conflate, a guy can run a 4.4 40, okay, all of a sudden he's, as a defensive lineman, his upside is incredible. Bud Dupree doesn't have upside. He's not, talented.
Why does Bud Dupree not have upside?
I'm just saying, I don't think athleticism, we should use the word upside because year after year, just people don't use it correctly, and it doesn't translate to what we actually see in the NFL.
Do you have an alternative for the word upside? So are you also trying to get rid of ceiling, potential? Are you trying to get rid of that? Or would you rather use different measures to calculate it?
Different measures to calculate. Talk about which traits he has that are good, that can get better, where he, give an actual holistic approach of the guy's strengths and weaknesses instead of saying, oh, he has this mythical upside because he's, he tested well at the combine.
I wrote down upside. I crossed it off. It's off my list. I will not use it this draft.
If I see upside in one of PFF's profiles, he's fired. I'm firing him.
We will autocorrect it. We will autocorrect it to "you're fired." We will make sure that gets deleted. I have a different take on what it should be, and I think PFF, we're in a position, not necessarily yet, but we have the data to maybe quantify upside. And I've mentioned this before. What if there are just certain things historically through the league that do improve, other things do not? So it's much like in baseball. When baseball created their metrics, so to speak, their projections going forward, they say the things that stay consistent are walks, strikeouts, home runs. We know that that's pretty consistent. The things that fluctuate are maybe batting average on balls in play. That's how they create their metrics. In football, we could honestly say maybe a quarterback's work when he's not under pressure stays very consistent. He is who he is. But when he's under pressure, it fluctuates. And that was Carson Palmer. And, one year he was very good under pressure. So maybe there are things that you can improve that we could actually measure rather than just saying you're fast, maybe you can learn how to play football better.
Or you have a ridiculous arm. Oh, that's the upside for a quarterback. Jamarcus Russell, he didn't have upside because he couldn't hit a barn door, but he was this mythical, he's got with an 80-yard cannon. So
with quarterbacks, I definitely buy into it because just because a guy has a cannon doesn't mean he's going to, this guy has Jake Locker. He's bad. He has bad pocket presence, bad accuracy, but he's got a big arm, so he has upside. And it's like, wait. Let's start with the right stuff. Yeah. So I thought, does Kellen Moore have upside? Because his upside, I think, is mastering the system. And once he masters the system, whatever system he's in, I think he's a reasonable player because he's got a little pocket presence and he's got a middle school level arm, which is never going to improve, or maybe it improves a little bit. But why would he not have upside versus Logan Thomas, who came out around the same time? So these are fun. These are fun discussions. So I want to get to the point where we can quantify it, Mike. Hopefully
I agree.
We can put more numbers to things that improve.
People just, there are things that people call upside, and it's not what actually translates to upside in the NFL. That's all I'm saying. Get out of your vocabulary if you're going to start talking about the draft. Say something else.
All right. It's a good hot take, Mike. I appreciate that one. That's a lot hotter than last week's.
Spot on take, too. Thank you. We're going to get into Steve's mock draft. We're going to get into some mock draft talk because it's mock draft season. And this was what, 0.0 for you, Steve?
This is 4.0, and if you want me to, if you convince me to make a change, I'll call the edit team. We'll make it a 4. I'll make the change. We'll make it a 4.1.
Well, there needs to be a lot of changes because, per usual, you got it wrong.
What are you talking
on most picks? But we'll start with a little quarterback discussion because me and you were talking the other day about, you said if I would draft a quarterback at 15, I would draft him at number 1. You said that basically. And I disagreed with that sentiment.
I was more presenting the argument, and I asked all of our analysts, and I'm going to do a little write-up on this, I believe, too. And it's a general sentiment. If you believe in a guy at number 15, then you should believe in him at 10 or at 5 or at 1. Mm-hmm. If you believe in a guy to be the face of your franchise, doesn't matter where you get him. That was basically the question, and I think you disagreed with me.
Because in your mock draft, you put Deshaun Watson at 6 to the Jets, but you have San Francisco, a quarterback needy team, passing over him to draft.
Right. And this is me. So when I go through the mock, I do it differently too. I'm not listening to league sources. I'm not trying to predict. I'm doing it. Steve Palazzolo is the general manager of every team. So when I'm the Browns, what would I do? If I'm the 49ers, what would I do? Now, with the Watson thing, we'll talk about it in a minute. I went more by scheme fit and coach fit and all that stuff. It's not as simple as I like this QB, I'm just going to put him up at the top. But I do have these internal debates. If I like Deshaun Watson, I have my questions. But if I really like him, or say Jared Goff last year at this time, I liked Jared Goff. I should believe in him whether he's number 1, 10, or 15, and I think you disagreed with my sentiment.
I disagree with that because of opportunity costs and risk mitigate. Basically, if you have the number 1 overall pick, you can get the league's best non-quarterback. You can get a Von Miller. You can get a Joe Thomas. You can get a Calvin Johnson, because those only exist in the very top end of the draft. At number 15, it's a little different. You might not even be faced with a guy who's going to be a starter on your team. There might not be great options there left for you. And so if there's a quarterback there, then I think it's just a different opportunity cost. You're passing up lesser players to draft that quarterback. So I just think saying I would take him at 20 and you wouldn't take him in the top 5 isn't wrong. I think it depends on the skill of the quarterback. If you're taking a guy top 5, you're making him your quarterback for the next 3 years legitimately. And if you don't think he's the guy, then...
Well, look, I get it. Okay, so I get that part. Here's what I've come around to realize the more I do these mock drafts and the more you just kind of see these things unfold. The human element to this whole thing. So we're doing this in this 32-team outlook. What if you are actually the Chicago Bears? And you're sitting in the Bears room and you're saying, I can take Mitch Trubisky, who might not be the guy. He might not be the perfect fit. But what is my alternative? My alternative is bring back Matt Barkley, and then you're John Fox. I mean, you're coaching for your career.
I mean, there's second round, third round. There are quarterbacks that hit in those rounds. We've seen even in recent years, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott hit in those rounds. It's not a death sentence to pass up on a quarterback in the first round, even if you are a quarterback needy team.
It's not a death sentence. All I know is I understand the human element of it, which is my job might be on the line, and if I think a guy could be the answer, I might be more willing to take it. Now, from a fan's perspective and from an analyst perspective, it's so easy to look back and say, you stupid Minnesota Vikings, you took Christian Ponder. You stupid Jacksonville Jaguars, you took Blaine Gabbert. Yeah. You should have taken J.J. Watt. You should have taken these other guys and had patience, but not every team has that ability. Now, when you look at the 49ers at 2, what did Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch just sign? Lifetime contracts? They have like a 6-year deal together. They do not have to draft a quarterback this year, so there's no pressure there for the 49ers. I think there are some unique cases. Now, ultimately, if you know that you have 6 years, or you're Bill Belichick and you know that you have a lifetime contract, essentially, I think you stay patient and you always take the best players. And when you find the quarterback that fits you and you're comfortable taking him, you take him. I don't think every team is afforded that luxury.
But I still say it's not, even if you're not afforded that luxury, you still have to make the best decisions possible. And you have to act as if you have that luxury. You can't, that's why bad teams stay bad teams. Agree. That's why you stay bad is when you play that in a hurry to get things done. That's when you play for the win now, when you're not really close to winning now, like the Indianapolis Colts, that's when you lose your job.
I completely agree. And that's why I think that's why the ownership and the general manager and the head coach and everybody's got to be on the same page saying this is not an overnight type of process. It is a patient process. Good points, Mike.
Right.
Very
well,
good.
Let's hop into your mock draft because that's what we want to get into. That's what people want to hear. Who did your favorite team get? Number 1, no surprise, Myles Garrett. I don't think that's even controversial. We'll we'll just gloss over that one and go to
Cleveland Browns.
It's the Cleveland Browns. We'll go to number 2, San Francisco 49ers. You threw a curveball. I didn't know you had. I thought you were a slider guy, but you threw a curveball here. Reuben Foster, linebacker, Alabama, to the San Francisco 49ers. This one just made me think of how deep they were at linebacker just 3 years ago with Patrick Willis, Chris Borland, Navarro Bowman. Now they have a shadow of Navarro Bowman and none of the other two.
One leg of Navarro Bowman.
Yeah.
A retired Chris Borland.
I don't hate the pick because I think from everything I've seen, Reuben Foster is going to be a damn good linebacker in the NFL. Yes. As sure a thing as I've seen in this draft so far after Myles Garrett, but it's a linebacker at number 2 still.
So everybody's going to say, you can't take a linebacker that high. Linebacker value is lower than ever. But my argument is that while linebacker value may be low, 3-down linebackers, guys that do affect all phases of the game, are higher than ever. And if you look at some of the best defenses over the last few years, all had good linebacker play, whether it was Luke Kuechly in Carolina, whether it was when Jamie Collins and Dante Hightower working together in New England, Denver with Brandon Marshall, and they have good linebackers on the best defenses in the league, especially guys that could play the run and play in coverage. And I know it's not a running league anymore, but because of the spread offenses, you play with a lot more 6-man boxes, and you still have to stop the run. You can't. There's a difference. There's a difference between getting a guy like Brandon Spikes, who's literally just a 2-down run stop type of guy, a perfect 1985 linebacker. There's a difference between that and then having incompetence against the run, because if teams can run, they will. Yeah. So if teams can spread you out and run, you can't stop them. So you have a guy like Foster, who I trust taking on blocks, who I trust in the run game. You have thinner boxes, 5-6-man boxes, so you need a linebacker that can play the run. And of course, he needs to be able to play in coverage. And if you look at Foster's movement skills, his agility, his ability to stay with running backs and tight ends, really is incredible. So I think he's worth it.
Going back to last week, I saw Reuben Foster in the national championship game make a play, crosser, cover 3.
That's it.
That's all you need.
Like we talked about last week. If you make if you make a play as a linebacker against cover 3, against the crossing route, like Deion Jones did at the Senior Bowl, that's all you need to see.
You're going to be an NFL linebacker.
One play scouting. So you like Foster at 2? Did I talk you into it?
I don't like it at 2 because I think cornerback is so deep in this Lattimore. There's so many good guys that
you'll get a good guy in the second round.
That's far more premium position. I just think if you can grab a lockdown cornerback, which I think there are, I think you go cornerback here if you're them and you're passing on a quarterback. But number 3, they didn't pass on a quarterback here. Chicago Bears, Mitch Trubisky. Why is he the number 1 quarterback on your board, Steve?
I don't know. I'm back and forth on it. I think Trubisky, that's a good answer.
Where else are you going to get this?
Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Kaiser. I think those are the top 4. I think they all come with question marks. I think as far as fit with Chicago, it was just a better fit with Trubisky with what they want to do offensively, the way they have a progression-based system, and I trust Trubisky going through his progressions a little bit more than I do Deshaun Watson. Like his pocket movement, I think he has the arm to drive the ball outside the numbers. Our guys are going to town, really adding some extra accuracy data to the mix. He's shown well during all of those measures. So I like a lot of what Trubisky brings to the table. The questions for him: 1 year, 1 year starter, and even within a game, he played pretty solid in almost every game, but there was a couple questionable throws in every game as well. So I like Trubisky. I think it's a worthwhile risk, but I'm not completely sold on him. Like maybe and not that I was completely sold on Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota, but I felt much better about those 2 quarterbacks coming out a couple years ago.
All right, well, I can't hate on that pick. The Bears definitely need a quarterback at this point. I don't think Matt Barkley's the answer. I don't think Brian Hoyer's the answer. I think if you are the Bears, though, you bring one of them back because of what they do, and you move on from Jay Cutler just because that ship's run its course. So I can't.
Jay doesn't still have upside. Jay has a big arm.
Jay was the upside king. That everyone for years. When's he going to flip the switch?
Just get him a new offensive coordinator. Mike Martz will get it out of him. Everybody's going to get it out of him. He's got a big arm. How did he not ever figure it out?
Just flip the switch, Jay. This is the year. Actually, I think this is
the year for Jay Cutler. Whoever picks him up, go Jets. Go get him.
Number 4, Jacksonville Jaguars. You had Jonathan Allen. I would love this pick if I were the Jaguars. If I were to get Jonathan Allen, I think that's just needs some defensive line help. He is a darn good defensive lineman. I don't really have any question marks about his game. Not terribly athletic, but he's going to probably play on the interior. You don't need to be freakishly athletic to win consistently there. He's strong. He has great uses of his hands. Wins pretty much every interaction. He's the guy in control. I don't think they can go wrong there if you're the Jaguars.
Yeah, so my question was, are Jags fans going to come back to me and say he's a little redundant to Malik Jackson, who they signed 2 off seasons ago? And there's a little bit of that, but so it's a similar type of player. And I think that's actually a pretty clean comp as far as the usage pattern, can play outside. I think you could put him at defensive end on early downs. He would destroy tight ends in the run game.
Oh, yeah.
Kick him inside, let him rush the passer. So I like Allen. Just keep adding to that D-line, Jags, and in one of these years, I think that D-line will start leading the defense.
Number 5, Tennessee Titans. You have them getting Teez Tabor, the cornerback from Florida. Titans are in a great position in this draft with multiple first-round picks, needing cornerbacks, and a ridiculous amount of cornerback talent. They could be a legit contender for the AFC next year if they hit in this one.
I think they're in a fantastic position because last year they got all those picks as well. This year they have all these picks, and they have their franchise quarterback. They have Marcus Mariota, so now it's just loading up on talent and depth. And despite that one Titans fan who called me out on Twitter and said that the cornerback is not a need, I don't know which Titans team he was watching last year, I think this is a fantastic opportunity with all of the cornerback talent for Tennessee to maybe double up on cornerbacks. Get 2 corners. And you don't even, in this league, you need 3 or 4 corners anyway. And you need corners that can match up to different style receivers. So I gave them Teez Tabor, who's a playmaker. Reminds me a little bit of Aqib Talib, the way he breaks on the ball. I think he's a calculated risk taker. So he'll get beat on a double move every now and again when he miscalculates. But every college cornerback does, right? But I love Tabor's ball skills and what he brings to the table. And then I came back at, 17 for Tennessee with another corner. I'm jumping ahead. But another corner in Tre'Davious White from LSU, who is our top-graded player, number 18, sorry, our top-graded FBS corner this year, bounced back from a subpar 2015, and I think he could play outside or in the slot. So now you have a playmaker on the outside in Tabor that could play press, could play off. You have White who could play outside or in the slot. And I think for a team that has these 2 picks, you've completely revamped your secondary in one draft.
They legitimately could. They're in a great position. Now, on to number 6, New York Jets. Already talked about it a little bit. Deshaun Watson. No love for Christian Hackenberg, apparently. You don't think he's the quarterback of the future? Or Bryce Petty?
And again, going back to Twitter, the one Jets fan said, wait, they haven't even seen Christian Hackenberg yet. I said, okay, they've seen enough of Christian Hackenberg, okay? They saw him at practice. They saw him for 3 years at Penn State. He is not the answer for the Jets. The sooner that they act on that,
I was going to say, I hope they act on it because you can't go into next season with those 2 as your only options. It will just be.
It could be ugly.
It could be
very ugly, and then you're in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes for next season, number 1 overall.
Darnold.
I like Watson. A lot of what Watson brings to the table. I have some questions about progressions, pocket movement. There are some big questions to Watson, but I hate using the word it factor, Mike. That could be another hot take, the it factor. But there's something to his ability to bounce back from mistakes. That's not an it factor. I'm describing what I like. Mm-hmm. Bounces back from mistakes and makes plays under pressure, crunch time. There's something to that I like.
100% agree. That's the only position where I will factor in somewhat personality into the equation of who you are, because I think that, like you said, it factor, mindset, that actually matters at the position. It's very important, and that's why I like Deshaun Watson. I'd probably take him as my first quarterback in this draft because of what I've seen in that sort of coming through in big situations like he's done each of the past 2 years. So like that. Number 7, this is LA Chargers. You're going to mock Malik Hooker to them every single mock. I know.
That's automatic.
I know you. You're just because it is a perfect fit. Gus Bradley, cover 3, the best single high safety in this class.
Love a good scheme fit, Mike.
And that one's never going to change. So
that was
Chargers fans, you don't have
Jack
to read.
Conklin. That was Conklin last year to Buffalo. Power scheme, perfect fit.
Yep.
Look, they need a free safety. They need a single high free safety. The Earl Thomas position in that defense. Malik Hooker is the best free safety, single high free safety that we've seen in years.
Number 8, Carolina Panthers. You went Derek Barnett, and I actually love this pick because of who I think is the best comp for Derek Barnett, and that's Greg Hardy. I think they play very similarly, have very similar skill sets, and that's why I feel like people probably aren't very high on Barnett because Greg Hardy isn't, a freakish athlete, doesn't do anything amazing, but
just wins.
Gets the job done with power, gets the job done consistently, good balance, one of my favorite things.
The balance ratio.
I think Barnett at number 8 is a great fit.
Yeah, they need a lot of defensive line help. Charles Johnson, a free agent, just need a general influx of youth at the position. I think Barnett is a great fit, and I've warned people, do not overthink Derek Barnett this draft season. Don't overthink him, because I think he's going to be an excellent player.
Agreed. Number 9, Cincinnati Bengals. You gave them Corey Davis,
this might
wide
never
receiver
change.
From Western Michigan. I like it.
I do.
I like it because that offense relies on the talent on the edge.
Absolutely.
When you get the ball out so quickly, you need like Andy Dalton does. You need guys to make plays on the ball. We've seen what happened to the offense when Tyler Eifert wasn't there. We've seen what happened to the offense when A.J. Green went down for a little bit. It's just not nearly as good as it was a season ago. I think that's a perfect pairing him up with A.J. Green. That'd be terrifying for defenses.
I agree. And you look at the 2015 team, even when A.J. Green was there early in 2016, they missed Marvin Jones, who left in free agency, Mohamed Sanu, who left in free agency, Tyler Eifert was hurt. When Andy Dalton had the best statistical season of his career, it was 2015, when he had all of those playmakers on the field. Now you put Corey Davis on one side, A.J. Green on the other side. You still have Tyler Boyd, who I don't think is a great number 2. I think he's a solid number 3. And then you have Tyler Eifert. Now you have the pieces around Andy Dalton that he can at least put up the numbers to look like a top-notch quarterback, even though he's still a mid-tier type of.
But you can win with that, guys. You can win with that, and there's no reason to get rid of Andy Dalton at this point. Number 10, Buffalo Bills, Jamal Adams, safety from LSU. I don't know too much about him, so we'll go on to number 11, New Orleans Saints, Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback from Ohio State. He's moving up your board, I've heard.
He is.
So I've heard.
He is. We'll talk about him a little bit later, but I think the more you watch him, there's just a lot of 6-foot corners who move well in this draft. And when you have a guy like Lattimore, he can play press, he can play off. The Saints just need defensive help any and everywhere. Now, I think their ideal scenario is Reuben Foster, who I put at number 2. So obviously, I would like him there, but I think grabbing a corner is another great way to go for the Saints.
God, I like that pick too. I'm liking far too many of your picks, so that's why I'm going to hate on this next one. Number 12, Cleveland Browns, Dalvin Cook. It goes against everything that the Browns have been doing.
It's not... Go ahead. Tell me why.
So one, their window is not within the next 2 years. We'll just say that. They're not even... They themselves are playing like their window is 3 years down the line at this point.
Okay.
With how they're building their roster. The best years of a running back are like the first 3 years of their career. After it's all downhill after that, you're going to have to re-sign him if he is good. I just think you'd be wasting... If you're going to draft... So one, I'm not even on board with... I'm just like rambling right now. I'm not even on board with running backs going in the first round unless they're transcendent talents. I think Cook is
like
that.
Like Ezekiel Elliott.
I think Cook is that. But you'll have a first round pick in a few years that you can waste on a running back. You can find a running back in the mid rounds that's a quality option. I just don't think from a team building perspective it's going to help them at all to go running back in the first round at number 12 here. It's just not going to help at all.
Fair points, Mike. My answer, though, it's not just a running back. It's Dalvin Cook.
He is good.
Okay?
I know he is good.
I would not give them Leonard Fournette. I would not give them Samaje Perine. I would not give them these other running backs. I wouldn't give them Joe Mixon. Okay? Take the off-field aside. Yeah. I'm giving them Dalvin Cook because he's a guy that can legitimately score a touchdown every time he touches the ball. You give him the slightest crease, he maximizes his blocking, slightest crease, he could score a touchdown.
And he had just an awful offensive line last year. That Florida State offensive line was terrible. Like one of the graded one of the worst in FBS. Not good. He was running through, NFL comparable, holes and stuff.
90 missed tackles forced to lead all runners on the ground.
I'm a fan. I just don't like the fit. That's all I'll say.
They need a playmaker. And your point about when he's going to contribute, 2 years now, that's a fair point. But as far as adding playmakers, if you had Dalvin Cook and Myles Garrett in a draft, you have a different team as early as next year.
Okay, we'll move on. 13, Arizona Cardinals, Sidney Jones. Like you said, another...
Just a good fit opposite Patrick Peterson.
Corner. Yep. The draft's full of them.
I like press.
Philadelphia Eagles, Mike Williams. I'm not sure he makes it this far to number 14.
No, I mean, he's gone as high as 5 in previous mocks for me. I think it's however I'm feeling that day. I could see him going between 5 and 15.
The Eagles would be ecstatic to get Mike Williams at this point.
I said the Eagles are looking at all wide receivers or corners. It's a good draft for they're in position, I think, to get either Mike Williams or Corey Davis, who I think are the best fits. They could get a John Ross at receiver, or they could go corner. I like Williams helping out Carson Wentz.
On to 15, Indianapolis Colts. You have them getting Tim Williams. I love Tim Williams. This is absolutely perfect.
Great fit, right? They need a playmaker on defense.
Absolutely need. He is
nice pass rusher.
He is what they've been missing the past few years in terms of a pass rusher. I think he's as good as upside.
Oh, you did it.
Of Robert Mathis. No, I'm kidding. I didn't.
Ooh, Robert Mathis.
I didn't go there.
That's a good comp.
He really is, though, off the edge. He's fantastic. The off-field stuff's a little scary. The fact that he didn't play much at Alabama is a little scary.
Right.
And that's probably going to drop him out of the top 10 in this draft. But if the Colts can get him at 15, that would be probably their optimal situation in this draft, to be honest.
I think it's a worthwhile risk. He only played about 160 snaps against the run over the last 3 years. But when he did play against the run the last couple of years, he showed the length and the pop and a couple, what you need to play on the edge. But he's a great pass rusher.
16, Baltimore Ravens, Cordrea Tankersley, cornerback from Clemson.
Press corner, that's what they like. Pair him opposite Jimmy Smith. Replace Jimmy Smith when he gets hurt. Tankersley's dropping a little bit in my mind, but still a good player. 17, and I like this one. You do?
I've said that far too many times. I'm annoyed at this point. But Washington Redskins,
when I put it together,
Leonard Fournette. That's with that offensive line, Leonard Fournette. I think that's what he needs. He needs a good offensive line to some degree. I don't think he's a guy who's going to overcome a bad offensive line. But if you give him a good offensive line, he's going to be scary.
Yeah, and that's Washington's line continues to get better. They can move people at the point of attack.
They get movement. Yeah, exactly.
They run some outside zone, but they run a lot of just pure man downhill concepts, inside zone concepts that I think fit his skill set and his style pretty well.
Rob Kelly, I like him as a running back. I don't think he's anything special, though, to stop me from drafting Leonard Fournette if he's there.
That's the rule I always use.
Yeah.
Player X on this roster is not going to stop me from getting a better player at the same position. Exactly. Rob Kelly certainly fits that mold.
And here we go, 18. We said it before. Titans get Tre'Davious White.
Double up on corners.
Love it. Do it, Tennessee. Do it, J-Rob. It's my boy, John Robinson. But he knows
That's your boy?
That's my boy. We talked at training camp once.
You talked
for
like
5 minutes.
5 minutes? He gave you 5 minutes of time?
He did. It's my boy.
That's great.
Actually, so good John Robinson story. I was on radio in Tennessee once, and this was after last year's draft, and he was on hold while I was finishing up, and they asked me about Derrick Henry, and I just trashed the pick. And afterwards, they were like, hey, we had John Robinson on hold. He was listening to all of that.
And he was not happy, I assume.
But he's still my boy.
He gave us good publicity. He used the PFF draft guide last year and gave us a good plug on the PFF draft guide, which will be out again this year, but so much bigger and better. Draft Pass, keep an eye out for it. Online component, it's going to be great.
That's why J-Rob's my boy. All right, 19, Tampa Bay Bucks, John Ross, wide receiver from Washington. Would love for them to add a wide receiver in this draft. I think they need one is because it was Mike Evans or nothing last year. And Vincent Jackson at this point has seen his best days are behind him.
Agreed.
He looked pretty much finished last year, just no sort of separation at all. John Ross is a guy who can separate deep, and that's where Jameis Winston loves to throw it.
He does. There's a part of me that just wants to give Jameis a bunch of big-bodied receivers, a lot like Cam Newton.
So that he can overthrow, literally.
Yes. Yeah, because Winston does not have the best accuracy. I mean, he just misses a lot of throws, and you have big-bodied receivers.
The radius.
The wide catch radius, that's a good scouting term, wide catch radius to help him out. But Ross is a great compliment to Mike Evans, who is the big-bodied receiver. Good for James to take his shots to Mike Evans, take chances into coverage to Mike Evans, whereas Ross can give him some cleaner throws by separating with his really good quicks and speed.
Denver Broncos at number 20, we have them getting Ryan Ramczyk, our boy.
We
were on him early.
We were.
I think that's also a perfect fit. They'd be happy to have him awful at the tackle position, the right tackle position, specifically Donald Stevenson, our lowest graded tackle last year. Ramczyk would probably play right tackle. I'm not sure what their plan is with Russell Okung. He had that crazy contract. But, I think they need tackle help. He is, to me, the best tackle in this draft.
Either position, absolutely.
And he's only scratching the surface right now. 1 year.
Yeah, he was Division III player. Now 1 year of FBS.
And came in and dominated immediately.
He did.
I mean,
I sent you a message, back in about week 3.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to go watch this Wisconsin left tackle. Make sure I'm not crazy, but he looks really, really good. Movement skills, getting to the second level, power in the run game, smooth pass protector. He just
has athleticism that you don't get when you're 6'6", 300, that there just aren't enough people on the planet with. So,
right. Agreed.
I like it. 21, Detroit Lions, getting Carl Lawson, defensive end from Auburn. I don't love it from a scheme fit perspective. I'd rather Carl Lawson play up. I think he's an outside linebacker better, but I like him up.
What's the difference? Playing
run defense. There's a little difference. Easier to read blocks from up.
Yeah, it's a little different.
But you can't go. I mean, you go best defensive, best pass rusher available if you're the Detroit Lions. That was their Achilles heel a season ago. They just couldn't affect opposing quarterbacks in the bottom 5 in terms of pressure rate of all NFL teams. And this is a draft where you can add legitimately talented, even at 21, pass rushers. So
you love the edge class. We talked about it last week. Go back last week and you can hear us rave about it. But Lawson, excellent pass rushers, got to improve against the run. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different defensive end options here for Detroit, as you mentioned. I just happen to go with Lawson in this particular one.
22, Miami Dolphins. You went Charles Harris. Again, super deep edge class. I'm a fan of Harris. Got some explosiveness.
They need a lot of help on the edge. And they need a lot of help. Because Wake is getting old.
Yeah. He's
Mario Williams,
35 now, Wake. He's not going to do it forever.
I think Mario Williams just got cut, and he's old and bad. Mm-hmm. And they need help for Sue.
We could have told him that. All right.
We did probably tell them, hey, Mario was not good in Buffalo, so don't go get him.
23, New York Giants, Solomon Thomas. I'm not sure he gets this far. The defensive tackle end hybrid, whatever, from Stanford. Our highest graded run defender.
So good against the run last year.
Good against the run. Just didn't lose. He stacks offensive guards, offensive tackles. He wins the leverage battle all the time.
And he was
better than anyone I've seen in this class.
He played a lot of one technique nose tackle at 270 pounds in the Pac-12. And he held his own against double teams and made some plays, I would say, when teams run power away from Solomon Thomas. When you run power, you can basically take backside players out of the play. Just the way the scheme works. If you want to avoid a good player on the defensive line, you can run power away from him. Solomon Thomas still made plays when they ran away from him, 2 gaps away, because he was so good at feeling the blocks, shedding them, making the plays. I think my question is just how effective is he going to be as a pass rusher? Because I think he'll have to play a little bit on the edge at 270. Is he going to beat offensive tackles consistently enough? I compare him a little bit to Jonathan Bullard coming out last year from Florida, who was a great run defender. He struggled this year for Chicago, but we saw him as a great run defender who you got to figure out where he's going to provide that pass rush. I think there's a little bit of that to Thomas's game, and that's why I'm not completely sold on him with this top 10 hype that I've been hearing for him.
I like him. I think if you grabbed him in the top 10, I think you'd still be getting a good player. Like you said, maybe not a complete pass rusher at this point, but he's only a junior. I mean, or redshirt sophomore. He's only 3 years in. He's a young guy. He declared early. I think
he has some upside.
I think he'll improve. I think he'll improve.
Ooh, that's a better way of putting it.
Because he has the explosiveness. I just believe he'll improve. So
wait, so he's a good athlete. So he has upside.
So he beats. This back to our Khalil Mack thing. He beats blocks in the run game that can translate to beating blocks in the passing game.
And that's our Khalil Mack thing was a discussion we had last year. Year one of Khalil Mack. Yeah. So his rookie season, he was unbelievable. Khalil Mack against the run. He was a good pass rusher. And then the next year, he was an unbelievable pass rusher. And our theory was that if you have the explosiveness and you have the block shedding ability in the run game like Khalil Mack showed, then maybe that pass rush can get to the next level. That's what Khalil Mack did. That's what a guy like Donnell Hunter from LSU and now with the Vikings has done. That's what Jonathan Bullard might be able to do at the next level. We'll see. And Solomon Thomas, you want to put him in that boat, which I don't think is crazy. I like it.
24, Oakland Raiders, Malik McDowell, the defensive tackle. I like him better at defensive end from Michigan State. Truthfully, I would like to see the Raiders go linebacker here. I like Jared Davis. I think that could be a fit for them.
Jared Davis, huh?
I do like him. He's explosive. Freakishly athletic. But
twitchy, even.
You went defensive tackle. I think he's going to play there. He'd play the Mario Edwards role.
Yeah, I think some hybrid. I just think they need help with the interior of the defense.
We hated Jihad Ward last year. He was a liability. He was awful against the run. I mean, we didn't like him coming out either. We hated him
in college and in his rookie season. They need help in the middle of the day.
Yeah. So...
I've mocked Jared Davis to them before,
Yeah.
I like Jarrad Davis. We're going to talk about him a little bit later, but I wouldn't hate Jarrad Davis. I wouldn't hate Zach Cunningham. This particular iteration, we went Malik McDowell.
25, Houston Texans, Pat Mahomes.
Wow.
Quarterback, Texas Tech. You did it. You put him in the first.
I think he's going to go in the first, the more I look at it. The more PFF analysts, as we do our work, our review work, and really dive into these prospects, more and more analysts coming to me saying, Steve, I think Mahomes might be my favorite QB. I've got multiple PFF analysts saying that to me, and he has so much upside, Mike. I mean, you look at what he does, plays backyard football for Texas Tech, but this was his first year not playing baseball. He made great strides. He has an incredible arm. He's just got a good feel for the game. I think they just have to – you need a team that can reel him in enough. There is a lot of Brett Favre to his game. I said this months ago. I'm going to go back and watch some 1990 Southern Miss Brett Favre film because I think there's some elements to his game that are very similar. And, you know, my phone went off. That's all right, Mike. You can call me on. My phone went off. I didn't put it on silent.
All right, 26, Seattle Seahawks. You went O.J. Howard. I'm not even
ridiculous pick.
I was going to say, I'm not even going to let you defend this pick because that's awful. You kind of just thought that O.J. Howard should be in the first round somewhere, and you threw darts at a dartboard. Not bad, but
Jimmy Graham's in the last year of his contract.
There's zero chance that happens.
You can never have too many game-changing tight ends.
Okay.
You cannot.
Who says that?
I just did. I just said it.
Okay.
You think New England was like, hey, we got Gronkowski, we're not going to get Aaron Hernandez later?
Well, not in the first round.
Yeah. If you can get a game-changing tight end in the first round, you take it.
All right.
So that's what Seattle's doing.
27, Kansas City, Jordan Lewis. I love the fit. I love the pick. He's one of my favorite corners in this class. I think people are going to overthink him, and he's not going to go in the first round.
He's too short.
Don't overthink him. Like the pick.
He's
28,
too short, though.
Dallas Cowboys get Taco Charlton, defensive end from Michigan. Again,
D-line, fit. They need somebody up front.
He's good. Wow.
I'm not a need-based guy, but, Dallas might get a defensive end every single mock draft.
I think they'll get, I think they will also in real draft time. Yeah. 29, Green Bay Packers, Zach Cunningham, linebacker from Vanderbilt. We all know it won't happen because they're never going to address their linebacker need as long as
them and the Giants, right?
They don't care. The linebacker is a throwaway position in Green Bay.
Well, I'm the GM of the Packers, and I'm getting Zach Cunningham, great athlete, striker, can destroy blocks, and he's that guy that can play in the six-man box, like we talked about, have the range and coverage and play against the run.
No, I mean, it makes sense, but again, that's not going to happen.
But the Packers don't make sense.
30, Pittsburgh Steelers, Desmond King, cornerback from Iowa. You went zone fit.
Zone fit. Guy. That's how I do it. They got a press man corner last year in Artie Burns, and he had his ups and downs this year. He ended up being okay.
Yeah.
But they're a zone-heavy team. I think
the second most zone-heavy team in the NFL last year, but only in front of Carolina Panthers, the only team that played zone more. And they don't want to play man.
Stats. We do keep those stats, which helps us when we're trying to go for these fits.
They don't like playing man. They refuse to play it against the Patriots, it seems
That's why Brady picked them apart, easily. I like King. He's got really good zone instincts. He's just got a good feel for zone, reading concepts. I think he'd be a good fit for that scheme, a much better fit than Artie Burns, who they got last year. And I still believe you can never have too many corners that are talented.
31, Atlanta Falcons. You went Tack McKinley, defensive end, outside linebacker from UCLA.
I got talked out of a pick here.
I don't mind. I don't hate it. I mean, I would like a better run defender. I don't think he's amazing against the run. I would like a bigger guy across from Vic Beasley. But Tack's not small himself.
I think he can play that base.
And I think he's
that base strong defense. He played a lot of 5 technique at UCLA. I love Tack. He's a guy that showed up on my radar 2 years ago on just a 100 snap sample. Uh-huh. That's the beauty of what we do, grading every player. He was on the radar and he really broke out last year.
That's a good one. 32, New England, curveball again. Steve the 12-6 right here. Jabril Peppers, safety, Michigan. You went. I don't. Where does he play in New England? Does he play safety?
He's going to take over the Patrick Chung role.
Okay.
And Patrick Chung, what he's done in recent years, he's a box safety that just mans up on tight ends. They play a lot of man coverage, a lot of cover one. Jabril Peppers, I trust him against covering tight ends. I don't think he's the slot safety hybrid people think he is.
Yeah.
He can cover tight ends, take over for Chung, who struggled this year.
Well, that's the first round.
Go read it.
Not as I say, it's up on the website now if you want to go read Steve's, analysis.
Very good mock, I think.
This is better than most. Yeah, it is better than most. I don't hate it. What am I saying right now? I feel dirty. Ugh.
You disagreed with some stuff.
All right, let's move on to some other drafts because it's mock draft season, and everyone has a mock draft.
I like this.
I don't have a mock draft, but everyone else has a mock draft. So we're going to talk about some picks that we've seen in the national mock drafts that we're just go, huh? So the first one is Leonard Fournette at number 6 to the Jets. Mel Kiper had this one. Daniel Jeremiah had this one. I would just die laughing if that ended up happening.
It's not really a good pick.
That's not what you should do if you're the Jets right now. That's not where you want to be going. I'll just say that.
We talked about positional value earlier.
And team
running back,
they're not close. They're not a team that's close to a championship, and you don't draft a running back if you're 3 years away.
Elliott worked for the Cowboys because they had other pieces in place, and they were only drafting at number 4 because Tony Romo was hurt the previous year. They actually have a good roster. The Jets have a bad roster, and to bad rosters, you do not usually add a running back who may not be able to contribute that much in the pass game. So I would say that's not a good pick. Leonard Fournette at 6.
Yes. Next pick, Bucky Brooks had Jabril Peppers going number 5 to the Tennessee Titans. I like the team fit. I think if Jabril ended up there, they play more man than anyone else. And like you said, him playing man coverage is what he's was probably his biggest skill for linebacker / safety.
Yeah, cover tight
But
ends.
number 5, I mean, they'll probably be able to get him on the wrap at 18,
or the
second round.
Second round, top 5 picks in the second round. They could get him. He's not the 5th best player in the draft, and when you do that, I just that's not a good. I don't think that's good value.
Next one, Lance Zierlein, the O-line guru, does great work there. He had Cam Robinson at number 8 to Carolina. Does he know something we don't know about Cam Robinson?
A lot of people love Cam Robinson. He was this perennial top 5 projection for a while. Now people have soured on him, and I think we've had some influence in that. We've been saying for a couple of years now he has not played like a top 5 pick yet. Now, I'm not ready to put him in the 5th round or anything. I think he's a second round guy that's shown enough upside. He's shown enough. He make all the runs in the run game. He's been okay in pass protection. Upside. He's gotten better. What's that?
Can't stop saying upside.
I did it on purpose. Okay. I'm saying it on purpose now. He's shown enough that I think he can improve and become a good player. Is what I would say about Cam Robinson. Mm-hmm. He has not played like a top 10 pick. Therefore, I would not take him.
Again, I'm not in this draft with so many top-end talent. I'm not taking a guy with question marks in the top 10 of this draft. I don't want to take a guy with question marks who might be able to get to, might be able to improve into an NFL player one day.
Agreed.
But I just think there are so many good players. You take one who will probably be good.
Maybe next week
right now.
There's a discussion to be had going off your upside thing. The value of a guy that might be bad for 2 years, but could be great years 3 and 4 versus a guy that's more solid. Yeah, through the life of his contract,
because the rookie contracts matter.
They do matter, and I've come back around to that year 1 does matter, and you don't always pass on it.
Next up, Pete Prisco had 2 questionable picks, I'll say, in his mock. Solomon Thomas, number 4 to the Jags. We talked about him about how he could get to a good pass rusher. He's not, especially right now. I think.
When you have Jonathan Allen potentially on the board, other guys.
In the top 5, I would like to see them go elsewhere. I'll just say that. And then Pete had Patrick Mahomes, number 12 to the Browns. This makes more sense than Dalvin Cook. So
it does.
He's.
It does make more sense than Dalvin Cook in your head. I understand. I think the Browns have this like a free play at 12. Mm-hmm. You can go get the best player in the draft at 1. And then you come back at 12, and you have the ability to take a chance on one of these QBs if you want. And I don't hate the idea of taking it on Patrick Mahomes, who just has so many tools to work with. So I don't hate it, Pete. I don't hate it.
And then to round it out, Mel Kiper, his latest mock 2.0, I believe it is for Mel. He has Zay Jones sneaking into the end of the first round at KC. He dominated the Senior Bowl. He's a riser, quote unquote, in this draft. I don't hate it. They need the wide receiver help, but seems a little rich for me, even with.
It's a little rich.
I don't think he's a guy who's going to.
He's a possession
athletically,
guy. Yeah, he's ultimately a possession receiver.
He's not going to be a down. Which, to be fair, that's KC's offense. But so not awful, but there'll be better players there, I believe.
I just wouldn't.
And then he had Jared Davis, the linebacker who I like, but he had him 13 to Arizona, which is even high for me. I get why it makes sense. They blitz a lot with their linebackers.
He's very good blitzer.
Yep. That sort of upside as a
you
blitzer.
said it again. Hot take is cooling off right now if you just can't
I'm going for
live
it.
up to it.
Upside as a blitzer. No, he's already a very good blitzer.
Currently a good blitzer.
He has that sort of
He's explosive,
ability.
twitchy. I love the team fit to Arizona. I don't love it at 13.
Don't exactly.
With so many good corners on the board there that I think would be a good fit for them as well.
All right. And that's our mock draft recap. Let's move into segments now. Your guys' favorite part of the show. Scouting term of the week, and it's a fun one. Arm talent.
What does it mean?
Talk to me about arm talent, Steve, because you have arm talent. Or had? Do you still have arm talent?
I did get asked this on radio today. It was The question was, Steve, if you had 10 warm-ups, how hard could you throw? And I said maybe low 80s. I could probably crank it into the low 80s with some warm-ups.
Oh, you have to be able to.
85. Okay. You think it's easy. I mean, I used to have to slowly build up during the offseason to get to 90.
Really?
But you give me a couple months, I get back up to 90. I still have it.
Still got it.
Wasn't an arm talent guy, though. I couldn't do it off multiple platforms and on the run and all. I can only do it off a mound with the wind-up. That was it.
So arm talent is basically just can make throws, makes all the throws. It's can make throws and make them accurately.
What's the difference between arm talent and arm strength? There's a difference. What does it mean
arm talent adds a modicum of accuracy to the mix.
I think so.
Arm strength, Christian Hackenberg had arm strength. He didn't have arm talent because he couldn't hit a window on a deep out to save his life.
I don't think his arm strength is even that good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair point as well.
What about Kaepernick?
Not to make this another Hackenberg trash session.
Not to hate Hackenberg. What about Kaepernick? Because when I see Kaepernick, if you give him a clean pocket and he's got that long windup, he throws balls that like the broadcast camera just can't keep up with sometimes. Mm-hmm. So as far as pure zip and a clean pocket, I think his arm strength, his velocity is exceptional. But I think it's the off-platform type stuff too. If you move him off his spot, he has to reset his feet. He's going to throw on the run. Does he have the same kind of arm strength? He's falling away. He's got guys hanging all over him. I think that's where arm talent maybe comes into play a little bit more.
It's Aaron Rodgers-ish. He's the arm
Everything
talent.
Aaron Rodgers does. And then you have to add some level of accuracy to it.
And now we're going to actually add on to the scouting term of the week, and we're going to make up our own scouting term every week.
This.
That's going to try to catch on. And we did this just before the show.
We're relying on you, the fans, okay?
So push this out. If you like it, use it, please.
So let's make it into a hashtag. We're making this up on the fly. So let's go hashtag this term.
Yeah.
And our goal is to get the hashtag going. And you need to go, as fans, you need to go and respond to other draft gurus with this term.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll give you the term. We'll give you a new one every week. We'll create a new hashtag for it. And we're going to get it to catch on.
We're going to revolutionize the scouting community.
We're going to completely change the scouting term. So this is your term, Mike. This is your baby. So tell us what it is.
And it's balance ratio.
I like it. So we're going to go hashtag balance ratio.
Hashtag balance ratio. And it's how often a guy ends up on the ground.
Oh, there's actually
He's got a bad balance ratio if he's ending up on the ground a lot.
I didn't know that we actually had a definition for these. I thought we were just making stuff up.
Darren Lee had a bad balance ratio. There's got to be something behind it. Darren Lee had a bad balance ratio. Luke Kuechly has a fantastic balance ratio. Can't be ended up on the ground if you're an NFL player.
Darren Lee
talk about balance ratio.
I called you out on Twitter when you said he had a bad balance ratio.
But yeah, Darren Lee doesn't like BFF.
So how are our fans going to use this? We're going to go hashtag balance ratio.
Hashtag balance ratio.
And you're going to go, talk to Daniel Jeremiah or Mike Mayock and say, what about this guy's balance ratio? And we'll check the hashtag next week and just see how many of you
say some of the best tweets,
to the fun.
All right. Next, risers and fallers. Another new one that we're debuting this week, and this is guys who we've seen lately who are rising in our mind, guys who we've seen lately that are falling in our mind.
It's almost like recency bias.
It's very much. I mean, that's what rising.
What have we seen? What have we seen recently?
So my riser, Dietrich Wise, defensive end from Arkansas. He just has the most explosive first punch I've seen in this draft so far. I said he could knock out Floyd Mayweather with his first punch, which was
one of your takes.
Take. Yeah. Which was dumb.
I think he decided not to roll with it on Twitter.
That's what I said. I think he's probably a 5-tech at the next level would be his best. I want him lining up over a tackle. Some question marks with him, but rising in my mind. Your riser?
I like Wise, by the way. Good player, just only played 400 snaps at Arkansas. My riser is Marshawn Lattimore. The more I watch him, and I know he started to rise in other mock drafts and everything, but 6 feet, can move, he can press, he can play off, so I love the movement skills. We had him not missing a tackle all last year. Sounds simple, but man, if you just make the routine play, there's a lot of value in that in the NFL. Sounds simple, but it's important. And good ball skills. I like a lot of what Marshawn Lattimore brings to the table. And in this deep corner class, I feel like he's rising to the top the more I watch him.
He has that second level in terms of speed, where it's a deep ball. He's the one separating from the wide receiver to go get it instead of the wide receiver separating from him, which that's important. That's what scouts look for. Are you not going to get beat deep? And I don't think he will be.
Stays on top of routes really well and made some pretty nice interceptions as well.
Faller, in my mind, Steve put me in charge of the edge class, so I watched a good deal of Ryan Anderson this week, and I don't see a position for him at the next level. I just think he's going to get swallowed up by tackles. I don't think he's not explosive. He's not too strong. He's not long. He just doesn't have anything that makes me go, wow, except for his hand usage, which is so nice, so subtle, so, he's so coordinated.
A lot. He wins a lot.
But I just...
You don't think he's going to win at the next level?
I just don't see it. There's nothing he does amazingly well that I think it's going to translate. So
our friend Josh Norris,
third rounder,
made the statement. Third rounder for Ryan Anderson.
Third rounder.
Our friend Josh Norris said, there's a Ryan Anderson in every class. That was the statement that he made. Josh Norris from Roto World. 2 straight weeks we've given Josh a little bit of credit.
I think you may have said the same thing last week.
Well, I may have said the same thing last week, but maybe you shouldn't have brought him up as a faller for the second straight week.
Anyway, faller?
I would say Cordrea Tankersley. Guy who graded well for us, but I think when you watch his tape, the scary part for me is the grabbiness at the top of the route.
That's Clemson.
I have fallen in love with the former Clemson cornerback that was grabby at the top of the route, Mr. Gary Peters, who we named Grabby Peters. He did not stick in the NFL. It wasn't all for on-field performance. There were some off-field issues there. But with Tankersley, I think the thing you have to look for, in college, you're allowed to make contact before the ball's in the air. There's no 5-yard rule. So I think it's trying to figure out the difference with corners between guys that are really good at exploiting the rules in college and guys who just need it to cover guys. And I think there are elements, there's some routes where Tankersley just looks like he's lost, makes contact he doesn't need to make, grabs on. That's a little scary for me at the next level, even though at 6'1", 6'2", has the length to be a press corner. I think he's still going to be a good player. I'm just not ready maybe to put him at the top of the class like I may have thought coming into the process.
Yeah, you still had him at the first round.
I still did, yeah.
I like him, but he's got traits.
He's dropping down a little bit.
Traits.
But he still moves well. Moves well for his size, which you don't always see for a 6'1" corner.
And now time for our favorite segment of the week, Nathan Yankee's mind-blowing stat of the week. I apologize if your mind was actually blown last week. I know I had a little trouble thinking straight afterwards. That may have been because I was very hungover, but also may have been because Nathan's stat was great on Jordan Lewis. Nathan, what do you got for us this week?
Sure. Auburn edge defender Carl Lawson had at least 3 pressures in 14 of his last 15 games dating back to last season. So he's been getting the best out of every offensive lineman that's been thrown his way recently.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thanks, Nate.
All right, on to our old scouting reports of the week. One good, one bad every week. The bad was we didn't even have a scouting report on this guy because we were that low on him a season ago. And that's Dak Prescott.
Ouch.
We even put him in our buyer beware list
of
quarterbacks.
We did. I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, look, Dak Prescott was so good this year for Dallas, but it wasn't because he carried what he was doing in college to the next level. He improved in so many areas. Pocket press, everything was much better.
So how many times do you see a guy have legitimately better stats their first season as a pro quarterback than their last season as a college quarterback? It doesn't happen.
It's incredible.
So much went. Everyone got it wrong. It's like you don't feel bad because everyone missed.
There's one interesting data point, though, as I went back and looked at our accuracy numbers from last year, and we charted every single throw, and we said, where is the ball location on this throw? And Dak was actually the leader in accuracy on throws where a guy had a step of separation. So that may have been a telling sign that we overlooked, that we charted, and we said he was very accurate with a step of separation and throwing to open receivers. He was actually one of the best in the entire draft class. So maybe that's something we can look at going forward. He actually struggled against tight coverage, though. Mm-hmm. But when you look at that Dallas offense, he had a lot of open receivers, and that translated pretty well. So maybe there's something in our data that could have helped us.
Hopefully. We'll see. Next year. We'll figure it out, guys. All right, and then our guy that we hit on that I was a big fan of.
Oh, God.
And I would let Steve know I was a big fan of it every week this year because he's my boy. And it's Jordan Howard, the running back from Indiana last year via UAB after they closed their program. Went to the Chicago Bears, lit it up. Here's what we wrote. Finishes runs through contact as well as anyone in the draft.
As well as anyone in the draft.
And we saw that this year. Excellent zone runner, and he was the best runner this season on outside zone.
For the Bears.
More yards than anyone in the NFL on outside zone for the Bears. Fantastic at that run. Needs some fine-tuning in pass pro, but one of the better pass blockers over the last 2 years. Would like to see him attack blitches more consistently. Didn't actually do amazingly well in pass protection this year, but hey, we'll see. Biggest concerns, durability. Howard missed 4 full games in 2015 with various injuries. Missed 3 more the next year, so that didn't come to fruition yet. Maybe we'll see it down the line. He was rarely utilized in the pass game. No clue what he has there. Dropped a handful of passes this year. Not actually too great in the pass game.
He did drop a lot of passes.
He dropped a lot of passes. I think he had like 4 in one game, which was ugly. And may not have the top-end speed to finish long runs all the way to the end zone without being caught in the NFL. That's not a huge concern with me because dude runs through tight holes. I kept saying it, got annoying, but he runs through tight holes, and that translates to the NFL because they're all tight in
so
the
you're
NFL.
A big Jordan Howard fan, and what was your big hot take in the middle of the season, him compared to Zeke Elliott? You just
flip him, nothing would have changed.
So Howard is as good as Zeke.
Yes.
So we put a second round grade.
In terms of
running.
ability.
So Zeke definitely a better all-around player because he can block, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. As pure runners, you want to put them on par. I think that's why we had Howard as a second-round pick, and we think, that was pretty good. He played like a second-round running back this year, and then some.
All right, and now on to handicapping the draft. Last week, Steve bet me $100 that Mitch Trubisky would be the first quarterback off the board.
And that's why I mocked him first.
And that's, yeah. So you're going to keep mocking him first. You're going to start calling GMs to try to get them to draft him to get your money back. But this week, I want to know who will be the first running back off the board because most national mocks have Leonard Fournette, but we have consistently said Dalvin's this game-changing, do-it-all running back who's not scheme-limited. Who do you think ends up going there? I have Leonard Fournette minus 110, Dalvin Cook minus 110, Field plus 500. Who you got?
I'm definitely not taking the Field. Good odds you put on there. Yeah. It's the smart odds that you put on this thing because there's no good third option. So I think it's going to be Fournette or Cook. I got to trust our evaluation, so I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. It does scare me that
it's going to go Dalvin.
The NFL is going to love Fournette.
How much money am I going to make off this now?
I'm going to go 50 on Cook because 50. I'm a little afraid of the Fournette luck. This is all fake money. I'm a little afraid of the Fournette love and all of the, the hype that he's getting in these national mocks. Again, we're just doing it based off our evaluations. I'm going to trust that our evaluations will also be similar to the NFL evaluations, which will put Dalvin Cook as the top running back off the board.
There you have it, and that is all for us. Thank you for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter. I am at PFF Mike. This is at PFF_Steve. As at PFF_Mike. I kind of messed up my Twitter handle there.
Don't forget the underscore.
Underscore Mike. Follow us on Twitter. We'll be back next week. You guys have a good one.